When did your high school bully reappear to ruin your biggest break? I literally just spent the last 4 hours hiding in the catering van at what is supposed to be the most expensive, gorgeous wedding I've ever worked, because the groom's entire family is currently threatening to stage a massive boycott unless I quit my job immediately. And get this, the guy leading the charge is Donald Wright 39M, the bully who made my life hell in high school, who is now apparently rich enough to rent out an entire vineyard estate for his cousin's wedding. I am absolutely shaking. I cannot stop refreshing my bank account. It has $43.67 in it, FYI, and I swear if I hear one more Ed Sheeran song from the ballroom, I might actually throw my iPhone 14 cracked screen, battery health 78%, through the window. I don't even know where to start with this dumpster fire, TBH. I am Stephen Brooks, 23M. And until about 6 months ago, I was technically homeless, sleeping in my beat-up 2018 Honda Civic in various Target parking lots after the pandemic completely wiped out my parents' savings and they had to sell the house in Westfield. My biggest goal in life right now is just to afford the $1,247 rent on my apartment 3B and maybe eventually get my security deposit back from the previous nightmare landlord. This wedding gig was supposed to be my big break, the thing that proved I was done with being the struggling kid. I work for Sterling Events, which is the high-end wedding planning company in this state. I am the junior logistics coordinator, which means I deal with the rich people losing their minds over linen colors and make sure the $347 artisanal cheese board bill gets paid on time. It is exhausting, but it pays $18 an hour, which is $5 more than I've ever made consistently. The whole reason I even have this job is because of Terry Walker, 60M, the founder and CEO of Sterling. Terry is a complete workaholic, like the kind of guy who answers emails at 3 a.m. and judges you if you use one sick day. He's tough, but he gave me a shot. He saw my resume, which was essentially managed a Dunkin' Donuts for 6 months and slept in a car, and he hired me anyway. Terry is currently inside, completely unaware that his favorite employee, me, NGL, is about to cause a 5-figure cancellation crisis. Okay, let's back up to 5:30 p.m. just as the reception was kicking off. The couple getting married is Logan Bryant 49M, who is wearing a spectacular custom white suit. NGL, it's a power move, and his partner. Everything was flawless. The florals were insane. Logan was smiling, looking like the happiest, wealthiest man alive. I was stationed near the head table, discreetly making sure the champagne flutes were constantly full. I was wearing the required Sterling Events uniform, a sleek black suit that cost me half a paycheck at IKEA, and uncomfortable shoes. I felt professional, invisible, and safe. Then out of the corner of my eye, I saw him, Donald Wright 39M. He was standing by the open bar talking extremely loud on his Samsung Galaxy, probably about Bitcoin or some other finance bro garbage. My stomach dropped like I was on a Six Flags ride. I have not seen Donald since the day I graduated high school, where he relentlessly tormented me because I was poor and wore the same stained sneakers for 3 years. He used to trip me in the hallway, spread rumors, and once Zelle requested me $200 for the pleasure of looking at my ugly face. I never paid it, obviously. He was just a relentless, entitled jerk, and seeing him here, sleek suit, expensive watch, laughing, it was like a jump scare from a horror movie. I tried to become part of the wallpaper. I grabbed a bus tub and pretended to clear imaginary plates, moving toward the kitchen door. It didn't work. Donald's eyes scanned the room and then they locked onto me. His smile, which had been performatively cheerful, vanished. It was replaced by this cold, calculating stare that instantly transported me back to the cafeteria floor. He excused himself from his conversation, walked straight towards me, and stopped about 2 feet away. I could smell his expensive cologne. Well, he drawled, his voice still the same smug tenor I remembered. If it isn't Stephen Brooks slumming it, are we? I swallowed hard. My hands were shaking so badly I almost dropped the bus tub. Mr. Wright, I managed, keeping my voice low and professional. Enjoying the wedding? He laughed, a short, nasty bark. Look at you, wearing a rented monkey suit and fetching drinks for people who actually made something of themselves. Still haven't managed to escape poverty, I see. I clenched my jaw. Every single instinct told me to tell him off, but I saw Terry Walker peering over the balcony railing, looking down at the crowd, and I knew I couldn't risk my job over this cockroach. I had PTO hours to earn, I needed the overtime, and that $43.67 in my account was screaming at me to be silent. I'm working, sir, I said evenly. If you'll excuse me, I need to check on the dessert course. Oh, I'll excuse you, Donald said, stepping closer. He leaned in conspiratorially, but his eyes were hard. But you know, my cousin Logan 49M is a very important man, his partner's family even more so. They are footing a huge percentage of this lavish bill, and they are all very protective of their social image. I didn't like where this was going. What are you implying? I'm implying that having a known loser, a complete zero from the wrong side of the tracks, serving them their $85 a plate artisanal dinner might reflect poorly on the family, Donald sneered. And I would hate for anyone to think my cousin hired someone with a questionable past. Remember that police report you filed when you tried to claim I stole your bike? Good times, real classy. I did file that police report, BTW, when I was 16. It was a cheap beat-up bike, but it was how I got to my minimum wage job. It was dismissed, obviously, because he lied and his parents covered for him. Past me was such an idiot for thinking justice worked. I felt the blood drain from my face. This wasn't just bullying anymore, this was a direct threat to my livelihood. I have a right to be here working, I whispered, the volume of the music suddenly too loud. Donald just smiled. Sure you do. But I also have a right to talk to my family. And right now, Steven, I'm thinking I need to introduce you to Logan and maybe remind him exactly who you are. The kid who couldn't even afford lunch in high school, the embarrassment. He started to turn towards the head table. Panic seized me. If I lost this job, I was literally back to the Civic. I just paid the $1,247 rent on Tuesday and my credit card is almost maxed out. Wait. I hissed, grabbing his arm instinctively. He shook me off like I was dirt. Smart move. Now here's how this works. You vanish right now. You tell your boss that you have an emergency. You pack your sad little car and you leave this property. If I see your face again, I promise you I will make such a scene that the entire Sterling Events company will be blacklisted from every wealthy event planner in the city. You quit or I ruin this wedding and your boss will fire you anyway. He didn't wait for a response. He walked off, joining a group of older women who were sipping cocktails. One of them was Margaret Gray 60F, a famous terrifyingly stylish YouTube vlogger known for her Elite Life Events channel where she reviews luxury experiences. She's Logan's aunt and Margaret's videos get millions of views. She had her massive camera crew hovering nearby. I ran. I literally sprinted to the back hallway and into the small staging area where the catering staff was prepping. I called Terry Walker 60M. No answer. I tried again. Voicemail. Typical Terry. He leaves his Apple Watch on silent during receptions. I sent him a text. Urgent. I need to talk to you right now. Crisis at the Bryant wedding. Then I got a triple text back from Donald Wright. He must have got my number from the guest list or something. I don't know, but the texts were venomous. DW 5 Mins Brooks. I just talked to Logan's mother. She is already interested in the background of the help. DW TikTok. DW, tell Terry Walker if you don't quit I will personally see to it that the bride and groom cancel the rest of the night. Do you know how much a wedding like this costs? The catering bill alone is like $50K. Your 18/HR is not worth it. I was trapped. I looked at the catering manager, a lovely woman named Maria, and stammered, I need to go, emergency, I'm so sorry, I'll take the write-up. Maria looked confused. Steven, we're slammed, what happened? I don't know, I choked out, already halfway to the back door. My car exploded, I don't know, I'm sorry, tell Terry I'm sorry. I darted outside, bypassing the main parking area where I left my Honda and ducked behind the large catering delivery van. I leaned against the hot metal and felt that awful wave of nausea hit me. I hadn't eaten properly since I spent $43.67 on groceries at Trader Joe's 2 days ago. I pulled out my phone again, shaking violently. I scrolled through my contacts. Who could I call? My best friend Jess is out of town. My mom. She would just cry and tell me to come home, which I can't do because I need this job. I opened my Venmo just to see the $200 I withdrew last week for rent. Gone. $43.67 left. I was so close to finally being financially stable and Donald was going to destroy it for a power trip. Then my phone rang. It wasn't Terry, it was Donald. I saw the name and immediately declined the call. It rang again. I declined. Then he texted, DW, look behind the van, Steven. My heart hammered against my ribs. I slowly peered around the back of the massive white delivery van and there they were, not just Donald. He was standing there with Logan Bryant 49M, the man who was literally wearing the white suit and getting married right now, and Margaret Gray 60F, the vlogger who had her cameraman actually filming the conversation. Logan looked furious, his face red. Margaret was holding her microphone ready. Donald just had that horrible, triumphant smirk. Margaret started talking, her voice perfectly pitched even from 20 feet away. So Donald, you're saying this young man, Steven Brooks, has previously harassed you and your family and that his presence here represents a liability to the professionalism of Sterling Events? Donald stepped forward. Absolutely. He's a liability, Margaret, a known troublemaker. The kind of person who doesn't belong at a luxury event like this. We believe he's only here to he paused for dramatic effect, looking directly at the spot where he knew I was hiding, to potentially cause trouble and steal proprietary information for a rival company. We will be canceling the rest of the evening immediately if he is not removed by security and a police report is filed for trespassing. Wait, steal proprietary information? Police report. That was a massive, career-ending lie and Margaret was filming it for millions of people to see. My panic instantly turned to white-hot rage. He wasn't just threatening my job anymore. He was creating a legal situation, a permanent record that could follow me forever, especially as someone who had finally managed to escape homelessness. I had always avoided confrontation, trying to stay invisible. That was how I survived the last 2 decades. But I saw my entire future. The apartment, the Honda, the possibility of getting real health insurance vanishing in front of a YouTube camera. I had only one move left and it was the most insane, risky thing I could imagine. I took a deep breath, checked my location on Find My iPhone still at the vineyard, and stepped out from behind the van. Stop filming, I yelled, my voice cracking slightly but carrying the desperation I felt. Margaret 60F immediately turned the camera toward me. Logan looked appalled. Donald looked utterly shocked, the smirk momentarily wiped off his face. Oh, look who decided to grace us with his presence, Donald scoffed, recovering quickly. Don't worry, Steven, we'll be calling the police soon anyway. No, you won't, I said, walking towards them. I pulled out my phone, went straight to my text log with Terry Walker 60M and took a deep breath. You want a police report, Donald? Fine, let's get one. But it won't be about trespassing, I said, my voice gaining strength. It'll be about extortion, slander, and harassment. And since you just stated for the record in front of this camera and the groom that you intend to bankrupt a business by canceling the biggest wedding of the year unless I quit, I think we have an even bigger problem. Logan's face went from angry to confused. What the hell is he talking about, Donald? Cancel the wedding? What is happening? Margaret 60F didn't miss a beat. She adjusted the microphone, a shark sensing blood. Stephen Brooks, is that correct? Tell us what is going on. Why is Donald threatening your career? Donald stepped forward, trying to block the camera. He's lying, Margaret. He's delusional. He's just trying to cause drama. Am I? I looked directly into the camera lens, heart pounding so hard I thought I might pass out. Donald, how many times have you told your cousin that his mother's family is too tacky and nouveau rich to be spending this much money on a wedding? Logan gasped. Or maybe, I continued, pressing the advantage, I should talk about how you've been using Venmo and Cash App to pay off the caterer's manager $200 a week to underreport the premium liquor consumption so you can skim money off the final bill. I saw the Zelle transaction logs when I was reconciling the accounts on Tuesday at 11:47 a.m. Donald lunged forward, grabbing my arm. You absolute psycho, you don't know what you're talking about. Let go of me, I screamed, pulling free. I looked at Margaret. I'm calling the police right now, not for trespassing, for the continuous threat to my life and career, and for the financial fraud he just admitted to me that he was perpetrating against the groom's family. And I am filing that police report right here, right now, with your camera rolling. I opened the phone app. I was shaking, terrified, but also weirdly high on adrenaline. I dialed 911. 911, what is your emergency? Yes, I stammered, trying to control my breathing. I am at the Bella Vista Vineyard wedding venue and I need to report harassment, extortion, and financial fraud. The perpetrator is Donald Wright, 39M, and he is currently trying to force me to quit my job by threatening a massive family boycott and cancellation of the event, which is in progress. Margaret and the camera crew were practically buzzing. Logan looked like he was about to faint in his expensive white suit. Donald, however, looked furious, defeated, and then suddenly he got a wild, manic look in his eyes. You called the cops? Fine, he yelled, turning to the camera. Margaret, I think your viewers need to know the real story here. You want drama? I'll give you drama. Logan, he pointed at the groom, you think I'm the only one with secrets. You think everything is perfect with your fiancé. You know what Logan 49M was doing Tuesday at 11:47 a.m. Stephen. You know why he was so quick to believe me that you were a liar. Donald took a triumphant, ugly step back. Because at 11:47 a.m. on Tuesday, while Stephen was looking at my Zelle transactions, Logan was doing his own transaction. He was sending a $5,000 Zelle payment to his ex-fiancée who he dumped 2 years, 8 months ago, because he thinks she deserves a cut of the wedding money. And if you think a little bribery is bad, wait until the family finds out about the baby he had with her 2 weeks ago, which is why she needed the money, and which is why he's about to have his entire new marriage boycotted by literally everyone here. Now tell me, Stephen, whose life are you going to ruin with your police report? I dropped my phone. I didn't even notice the 911 operator still on the line. The sound of Margaret gasping was deafening. I looked at Logan, whose white suit suddenly looked tragic, and then at the massive crowd inside the venue dancing happily, unaware that their family's entire fragile structure was about to be exploded by a workaholic bully and a homeless kid trying to save his $18-hour job. I picked up the phone again, my mind racing. I was about to either destroy a wedding, commit career suicide, or finally be safe. The 911 operator was saying something, but all I could hear was Margaret's camera whirring. What the hell was I supposed to do now? If I went ahead with the fraud report, the wedding was over, Logan was exposed, and I was dead to the entire Sterling Events clientele. But if I backed down, Donald won, and I was still fired and blacklisted. I was done, just done. I could hear Terry Walker finally calling me back, his name flashing on my screen, but I couldn't answer. I was standing in front of the groom, the camera, and the man who ruined my childhood, holding the police on the line, and I had absolutely no idea what my next words should be. I dropped my phone. I didn't even notice the 911 operator still on the line. The sound of Margaret gasping was deafening. I looked at Logan, whose white suit suddenly looked tragic, and then at the massive crowd inside the venue dancing happily, unaware that their family's entire fragile structure was about to be exploded by a workaholic bully and a homeless kid trying to save his $18-hour job. I picked up the phone again, my mind racing. I was about to either destroy a wedding, commit career suicide, or finally be safe. The 911 operator was saying something, but all I could hear was Margaret's camera whirring. What the hell was I supposed to do now? If I went ahead with the fraud report, the wedding was over, Logan was exposed, and I was dead to the entire Sterling Events clientele. But if I backed down, Donald won, and I was still fired and blacklisted. I was done, just done. I could hear Terry Walker finally calling me back, his name flashing on my screen, but I couldn't answer. I was standing in front of the groom, the camera, and the man who ruined my childhood, holding the police on the line, and I had absolutely no idea what my next words should be. This is where the brain short-circuited. I literally stood there, breathing heavy, staring at Logan, who was now staring at Donald with this look of absolute betrayal, and then I heard the 911 operator clearly. Sir, are you still there? Can you confirm the nature of the emergency? I looked at Logan. He was vibrating, pale. He knew I was holding his entire new life in my hands. The baby revelation was definitely true, I could tell. Donald didn't even look triumphant anymore, just cornered. I closed my eyes for a second, feeling the sun setting on my life. I was not going to be the guy who ruined a $200,000 wedding. I just couldn't do it, but I also couldn't let Donald win. I opened my eyes, looked at Margaret's camera, and spoke clearly into the phone. 911, I apologize, I said. My voice was shaky, but I forced it to be calm and professional, the tone I use when a client screams about the wrong shade of salmon napkin. The situation is resolved. The party responsible for the harassment has been detained by family members and the immediate threat has been neutralized. I will file a formal report at the station tomorrow morning regarding the extortion and slander threats. There is no longer an active emergency needing police dispatch to the venue tonight. Thank you. I hung up. Silence. The music from the ballroom seemed 10 miles away. Donald was the first to move. He took a staggering step toward me, jaw clenched. You backed down, he hissed. You coward, you still backed down. Oh, I didn't back down, Donald, I said, putting my phone away. I felt this weird, cold clarity wash over me. I just realized that destroying Logan's life is something Logan needs to handle, not me. But you tried to frame me for corporate espionage and financial fraud to ruin my career, and you admitted it on camera. That is the definition of criminal slander and attempted extortion, and I have a witness and video evidence. I nodded toward Margaret. Margaret Gray, 60F, was absolutely glowing. She stepped forward, microphone pointed at Donald, who was now being carefully held back by Logan, who looked like he wanted to punch his cousin through a wall. Donald, right? Margaret said, her voice dripping with professional calm, the kind that makes for viral content. You just admitted on camera that you fabricated a story about Stephen Brooks being a thief and a corporate spy and attempted to coerce him into quitting his job by threatening to cancel your cousin's wedding and ruin Sterling events. Is that correct? Donald just sputtered. No, that's not what I said. You can't use this, Margaret. I'm family. Logan's face was still bright red. Family? You just exposed my deepest secret to a reality vlogger, Donald. You just ruined my wedding. Get off my property now. I didn't stick around for the family drama. I had done what I needed to do. I made sure Donald was screwed without actively nuking Logan's wedding or my career in the process. I turned, walked back toward the catering van and leaned against it, shaking uncontrollably again. And then Terry Walker, 60M, walked around the corner. He was wearing his tuxedo, of course, immaculately pressed. He was holding his Apple Watch like it was a live grenade. Steven. My phone was on silent. I just saw your texts. Crisis? What in God's name is happening back here? Terry demanded, looking at the retreating figures of Logan, Margaret, and Donald, who was being practically dragged off the property by security. I looked at my boss. Terry is usually this unreadable, hard-ass businessman, but he looked genuinely alarmed. I took a deep breath and I told him everything. Not the Logan baby part, NGL. I felt like that was off limits. It wasn't my fight, but everything about Donald Wright, the high school bullying, the extortion, the fake police report threat, and the corporate slander he attempted to film. I showed him the texts. Terry was silent for a full minute, looking at the text from DW where Donald threatened to blacklist Sterling events. He threatened to bankrupt us, Terry finally whispered, looking absolutely furious. Not at me, surprisingly, but at Donald. Over a petty high school grudge. Yes, sir, I said, feeling that familiar wave of exhaustion. I handled it. He's gone. I called 911 to establish a threat of extortion and slander, then de-escalated the immediate situation by hanging up, confirming I'm filing the report tomorrow. I told him I have Margaret Gray's footage as evidence. Terry stared at me. You used a YouTube vlogger's camera crew to establish evidence of a criminal threat to your employment and my company. I did, sir, I confirmed. I apologize if I overstepped, but he was literally 2 minutes away from getting me fired and blacklisted from the industry. Terry Walker, the man who judges you for taking a sick day, who lives and breathes logistics, just started laughing. Not a nice laugh. A manic, stressed, borderline hysterical laugh. That, Terry said, wiping his eyes, is the most insane, brilliant, utterly stupid thing I have ever heard, Stephen. You saved the wedding, you neutralized the threat, and you did it while protecting the company image. Get back inside, Stephen. Go back to clearing plates. You're getting a bonus. I looked at him utterly stunned. A bonus? Yes, Terry said, suddenly stern again. And a raise, effective immediately. You are now the lead logistics coordinator. Get changed out of that suit and take the rest of the night off. Go home, sleep. We will deal with Donald Wright's legal assault tomorrow. You need to focus on the police report and getting an attorney for the slander. Sterling will cover the legal fees naturally. Go. I just nodded numbly. I walked straight to the catering staging area, apologized to Maria again, grabbed my backpack and left the venue property. I didn't even look back at the beautiful, insane wedding. I just drove my beat-up 2018 Honda Civic straight back to apartment 3B, so 2 days later I was still completely shell-shocked. I haven't slept properly. I keep refreshing Margaret Gray's YouTube channel, NGL. Nothing about the wedding is up yet, thank God. Logan and his partner must have gone nuclear to suppress the footage, which I totally get. I had a meeting with Terry and Sterling Events' corporate lawyer, a guy named Marcus, on Monday morning. They confirmed they were covering everything. Marcus told me that while Donald's threats were disgusting, the biggest leverage was the fact he committed them in front of witnesses and a camera. Marcus suggested we not file the police report immediately, but instead send a massive cease and desist letter to Donald, detailing the extortion attempt, the slander, and the threat of corporate damage, specifically mentioning the video evidence. If he backs down completely, we win, Marcus explained. If he pushes, we file the police report and notify the IRS about the potential catering fraud he was committing. That's usually enough to shut down rich bullies. I agreed. I needed peace, not a massive lawsuit. I had $43.67 in my account even with the raise. Legal battles are expensive even when someone else is paying. The raise, BTW, was huge. Terry bumped me from $18 hour to $24 hour, and I got a $1,000 crisis management bonus deposited immediately. Seeing that bank account balance jump from $43.67 to $1,043.67 made me actually cry in the sterile lawyer's office. It felt like I was finally safe. But the emotional cleanup, that was the hard part. Fast forward to Friday. I haven't heard a peep from Donald Wright. I blocked his number, his Venmo, and every random social media account I could find. I was finally starting to breathe again, focusing on my new lead logistics coordinator duties, which are essentially the same, just more responsibility and better pay, lol. I felt like I had won. Then Logan Bryant, 49M, showed up at the Sterling Events office. I was alone reconciling the vineyard vendor invoices. The bar tab was astronomical, which confirmed my suspicion about the liquor consumption. The receptionist buzzed me and said, "Logan Bryant is here for you, Stephen. He looks awful." He looked worse than awful. He was still wearing tailored suits, but they looked wrinkled and his eyes were bloodshot. He sat down across from my desk. "Stephen," he started, his voice flat. "Thank you for what you did at the wedding. For not going through with the 911 call." I shrugged. "I'm just trying to keep my job, Logan," he sighed deeply. "Donald is toxic. He's always been toxic, but he ruined my life. The wedding is on pause. My partner's family found out about the baby. The whole thing has exploded." I nodded. I figured as much. I felt bad for him, honestly, but also Logan had enabled Donald his entire life, and he was trying to pressure me into losing my career to save his own perfect facade. "I didn't expose the baby news, Logan," I clarified. "Donald did that. He tried to frame me for a crime and I reacted. Your cousin is a criminal." "I know," Logan admitted. He looked defeated. "He's been cut off. My partner's father, who is much wealthier than us, is already looking into the fraud. You mentioned the Zelle payments. He's furious about the manipulation of the liquor tab. He considers that worse than the paternity issue." He then pulled something out of his pocket. It was a crisp envelope. "I need to make things right," Logan said, pushing it toward me. "I was an asshole to you." I took Donald's word instantly because I was scared of my own secrets coming out. "I'm sorry you were put in that position." I picked up the envelope. It was thick. I opened it carefully. Inside were 10 crisp $100 bills, $1,000 cash. "Logan, I can't take this," I said immediately. "It's not a bribe, Stephen. It's hazard pay. It's for the lawyer, for the stress, for the $18 an hour job you almost lost because of my family. I know $1,000 doesn't erase the stress, but please take it. And one more thing." He leaned in conspiratorially. "That information you had about the Zelle transactions, the exact time, you were looking through the catered event reconciliation sheets, right?" "Yes," I confirmed, wondering where this was going. "I need copies of those Zelle logs for my partner's father. If you can provide them, it would help bury Donald forever." I hesitated. Sharing internal company reconciliation logs was absolutely against Sterling policy. But Logan was asking me to help destroy the man who had tormented me for a decade. "I can't print them, Logan," I whispered. "But I can take a photo of the screen with my personal phone, but you never got this from me." "Understood," he said, and for the first time I saw a genuine look of relief on his face. I took the $1,000, feeling incredibly guilty and incredibly pragmatic. This was almost 2 months' rent, combined with Terry's bonus. I snapped the photos of the relevant transaction logs, transferred them to Logan's phone, and he thanked me profusely and left. I felt slimy but also $2,000 richer, employed and watching my tormentor's downfall unfold. This career crossroads was starting to feel less like a crisis and more like an opportunity. A week went by where everything felt strangely calm, almost too calm. I was crushing it at work. Terry was praising my attention to detail. I was finally sleeping through the night in my apartment 3B, which felt like a luxury castle compared to the Honda Civic. I bought proper sheets, then I got an email that shook me to my core. Subject: regarding footage from Bella Vista Vineyard, from Margaret Gray. I thought I was going to throw up. She was uploading the footage, I knew it. I opened the email, terrified. Margaret, 60F, is a force of nature. If she dropped that video, it would be viral immediately. And even if it saved my job, my face would be associated with high society drama forever. The email was short and polite. "Dear Stephen Brooks, I want to apologize profoundly for the stress you endured at Logan Bryant's wedding. As a journalist, and yes, a vlogger is a journalist, TBH, I was ethically obligated to secure the footage of Donald Wright's confession of slander and extortion. However, I have personally decided not to publish the footage of your confrontation or Logan's private revelations out of respect for the victims and Sterling events. I have, however, edited the footage to highlight Donald Wright's character and his previous bullying history, using some archival footage I pulled from family albums. I think the public needs to understand who is really behind this attempted corporate takedown. I hope this helps you move forward. P.S. Please tell Mr. Walker that his logistics coordinator is a stone-cold killer, and that I have already reached out to several high-profile clients to recommend Sterling events. You are an asset." I stared at the screen. Margaret Gray, the terrifying vlogger, was on my side. She hadn't posted the nuclear option. She posted the targeted surgical strike. I immediately navigated to her channel, Elite Life Events. The video title: "The High Society Bully Who Tried to Ruin a Wedding FT. Logan Bryant's Family Drama." I clicked it, heart pounding. The first 3 minutes were vintage Margaret, beautiful shots of the venue, the flowers, the food. Then she transitioned. The screen went black and white. She played old, grainy high school footage. I don't even know where she got it. Showing a younger, smug Donald, and then showed clips of news reports about local high school bullying incidents, specifically mentioning the bike theft without naming me, thank God. Then she showed the footage from behind the van, but it was heavily edited. It showed Donald making the threats against Sterling, specifically mentioning cancellation. It showed me stepping forward, demanding he stop filming, and me saying I was filing a report for extortion and slander. It showed Logan looking horrified. Crucially, it cut out every single word about Logan's baby or his ex-fiancé. It cut out my internal fraud allegation against Donald. It focused purely on Donald's entitlement and criminal behavior toward an innocent employee. The comments section was a firestorm. User, Margaret, I hate to say it, but that planner Steven handled that with more grace than the entire wedding party. User, this Donald guy is trash. Entitled Little Pig. User, give the logistics coordinator a raise. He stood up to that psycho. I actually felt my chest light. She had managed to protect Logan and Sterling, destroy Donald, and completely vindicate me. Margaret Gray 60F was the unexpected hero of this entire mess. By Tuesday, I was officially promoted on the Sterling Events website. Terry sent out an internal email confirming my new title and the salary increase. But the biggest development was Donald Wright. I got a text that morning from an unrecognized number, but I had a terrible feeling. It was Logan. L. Steven, you're safe now. Donald was arrested this morning. Me for what? The fraud or the extortion? L. Both. My partner's father got involved with the IRS and the local police regarding the catering fraud. Plus, Margaret's video went to 5 million views in 48 hours. The local prosecutor saw enough evidence in her edited footage to issue a warrant regarding the extortion and threats against your employment. He's in custody. We're cutting him out of the family forever. I literally sank onto my couch. He was arrested. Donald Wright, the bully who made my life miserable, the guy who tried to send me back to sleeping in my Civic, was finally facing consequences. Justice works sometimes when you have a brilliant boss, an ethical but dramatic vlogger, and a desperate rich groom who needs to save his own reputation. The aftermath has been weird. Terry Walker 60M has completely changed. Not in a soft, fuzzy way, NGL, but he stopped sending emails at 3 a.m., and he actually encouraged me to take PTO last week. When I hesitated, he looked me dead in the eye and said, Steven, you just took on a major criminal enterprise on behalf of this company and won. You have earned a week off. Take it. Order pizza. Don't look at a linen catalog. He even cracked a smile. I think Terry realized that his workaholism was actually hiding from the messy realities of life, and watching me fight so hard for $18 an hour while confronting deep-seated trauma snapped something in him. He saw the human cost of the high-stakes events industry, and he realized he needed to protect his good people. I took the week off. I didn't travel. I just stayed in my apartment. 3B, I stress ate 2 bags of microwave popcorn and binge-watched all 9 seasons of The Office. It was glorious. I finally got my finances in order. With the bonuses and the raise, I am completely solvent for the first time in years. My checking account has over $3,000 in it. I opened a high-yield savings account and transferred $1,500. It sounds ridiculous, but seeing that money sitting there untouchable felt like armor. I even talked to my mom. I told her the Cliff Notes version. A guy at work was being a jerk. I stood up to him and I got a promotion. She cried happy tears and sent me a massive care package of homemade cookies. As for Logan 49M, he and his partner have postponed the wedding indefinitely. He's dealing with the baby situation and the massive family fracture. I saw his name on the office calendar for a consultation next month. I'm guessing he's coming back to plan a much smaller, less ostentatious ceremony, which is probably exactly what he needs. And Margaret Gray 60F, she is currently my biggest champion. Her video on Donald has been viewed 15 million times. She actually messaged me on LinkedIn asking if I would be willing to do a follow-up feature about what it's like to break into the luxury events industry after escaping homelessness. I declined politely. I told her I want to focus on my logistics career, not my personal trauma. I learned that day that I can fight when I need to, but I don't need the spotlight to feel validated. I need security. I still have that fear, NGL. Every time my phone rings from an unknown number, my stomach drops. I still check the locks on apartment 3B multiple times before sleeping. The trauma of being homeless doesn't just evaporate when your bank account hits 4 digits. But I am safe, I am employed, I am respected. The biggest change came yesterday. I was walking out of work and I saw a guy wearing a jacket similar to Donald's. Instinctively, I flinched, ready to turn and run, but then I stopped. I realized I didn't have to run anymore. I had Terry's backing, I had the lawyer, and I had a police report waiting to be filed if this guy ever showed his face again. I was the lead logistics coordinator making $24 an hour, and I had faced down a major criminal threat. I walked straight past the guy. He was just some random dude going to happy hour. I didn't need to be invisible anymore. That was the most important thing I realized at that wedding crossroads. When you have nothing left to lose, you might as well go for the nuclear option. And sometimes, if you're lucky, the nuclear option just happens to land directly on the bad guy. I still have the envelope with the $1,000 cash from Logan in my desk drawer. I haven't spent it yet. It's a reminder that even the most perfect white suits are hiding massive secrets, and that the $18 an hour kid is often the only one brave enough to tell the truth. Anyway, I am done unpacking all this, TBH. I am ordering pizza now. I hope this whole situation can be a lesson to anyone dealing with high school bullies who think they can use money to cover their tracks. Sometimes you just need a dramatic vlogger and an extremely expensive wedding to blow up their life instead. I will update if Donald tries to contact me from prison or something equally dramatic. But for now, I am focusing on making sure the next Sterling event is flawlessly executed, and maybe, just maybe, affording the down payment on a new used car next year. Thanks for letting me vent, Reddit. You guys kept me sane during the craziest week of my life. I think I'm gonna be okay.